Okay, well, two things I've noticed, they're probably seemingly pretty obvious. Is at night time the charcoal stays a lot wetter than the perlite, but during the day it loses its the charcoal, being black of course, loses its water. Once it's lost its water, it gets really hot. I'm putting my hand on it, it's definitely over 28 degrees I would say, but in the same amount of sunlight the perlite is still cool to the touch. So there's definitely if you want a nice cool soil, definitely, even out in the bright full Aussie summer sun, the perlite, even though it was watered like an hour and a half to 2 hours ago, 2 o'clock, so it's 2 hours ago, even though it was watered 2 hours ago, I re-watered this one just recently, the charcoal one, because as I said, I felt it was so hot. But that that temperature might actually help to break down the charcoal into the little micro charcoal nanocarbon particles that will slowly be washed out on maybe on a daily basis or thing. But I just thought I'd mention that. The only update on this thing, it's been exactly 2 weeks now to the day. It's 2 weeks Friday when we ripped it out of the pot, and I bought it on the day and ripped it out on the same day. Bought it in the early afternoon and then ripped it out late afternoon, put it in there 2 weeks ago. So the pitches have almost grown now. We said they were going to grow like 15 centimetres. Well, I think that's pretty much 15 centimetres from the rhizome thing. So it's pretty on the money. So you can actually calculate how fast it's going to grow and so forth, which was a bit like with the double flush. You got to the stage where you can almost see them growing, and you can almost chart them on a graph, and have some form of predictability of the rate and speed at which they grew and the robustness sort of thing. So that's not bad, I think, for 2 weeks from a shop bought commercial thing that normally, if you ripped it out of the pot and did the normal stuff on it, you lose most of the pictures that were on them at the shop. They would die off slowly and disappear, and it go into like a quiescent state for about 3 months as you head towards our so-called winter, our Mediterranean winter, or in other words the wet. And it would sit through the winter or the wet until spring, and then it would start to grow like a normal Sarracenia again, sort of thing. So in other words, you basically lose the whole season of waiting, sort of thing. We haven't done that. We've ripped it out of the pot, put it in here, and it's growing pitches up to like at a predicted rate of about 15 centimetres, basically a centimetre a day, in 2 weeks. But only with the one that we've actually didn't really divide. The other ones have sort of had a little bit of a setback, but they're starting to put up new, I don't know if that's going to be, if they're going to turn into phyllodia. They're trying to go into this like dormant state. I think they're going to get a rude shock. Give it another 2 weeks, and they'll probably try and head back the other way. So once the microorganisms in the soil really build up in their numbers, and everything starts, and the roots from the rhizome start to explore the soil and realise, whoa, this is pretty exciting stuff we're actually meandering through. Let's get growing rather than head for dormancy. Some people were mentioning they put hormones on these things, but I don't know. Did you notice that foaming when we first put it in on that video there? There was a lot of foam and everything. I've noticed that foam every time I water, it's slowly diminished now, and there's only one plant here that's actually got a little bit of foam around it, but this one here, no foam whatsoever now on that one. So basically the one that's growing the best has got no foam, and the one that's still got a little bit of foam around it is the worst one in the pot at the moment. So I wonder if they've got some sort of soap in there. I don't know why it says it to control a certain group of microorganisms or something, so it keeps it like in a quiescent state in the shops. I don't know, but when you take it out of the pot and wash it out or whatever, whatever sweeter organisms it's trying to keep in check or something, they just go crazy or something? And is that why we suddenly lose all your pictures and stuff, and it tries to head into like a quiescent, dormant state? I don't know, but I suppose one day, eventually, maybe in another 100 years when I'm not here, the full truth of what these commercial places have been getting up to and going up to. I just wonder if they're actually grinding up meat, mixing it with salt, sort of thing, so they have like a stock container with salted, purified meat, so they can store it, and they pump it through their pipes onto the pots, and then they pump through, and then they have another set of sprinklers where they just sprinkle on the water that flushes out the salt of the, and then they basically get what we're doing in a pot, but they get it from a sort of regular timed sort of spray thing. So they spray it with a bit of salted meat of the right level that doesn't damage the plants, as I said, because these plants can handle a lot of salt, especially if it's potassium amended salt. And of course you've got to ask the question why. And as I'm coming and getting to this idea that maybe that's what they do. They take the salt away from the charcoal or whatever else of type of soil bacon sort of thing, and almost maybe they can actually take away the phenolics. I mean, remember, you've got to take away twice as many phenolics as you do the salt, or the tolerance to salt allows you to take away twice as many phenolics. Does that also get us to think down another pathway there? So you've got like a 2/3 seawater tolerance. Sericine can get up to seawater tolerance, by the way. That means you can actually handle 4/3 phenolics, and in the case of sericine, that means it can handle 66 to 7, between 66 and 70 grams to the litre of phenolics sort of thing. Because phenolics are organics, therefore you can handle twice as many organics as you can salts, you see. So that was an important part. I didn't quite stress the other day when I was doing making up this charcoal thing here. I didn't quite stress that from the mobile point of view, being quite salt tolerant means you can either handle twice as many phenolics, but you also has the ability to extract twice as many phenolics out of a phenolic thing. So you've got a phenolic soil bacon, you can take as opposed to a salty soil bacon, you can only take X out of the charcoal. So you can only take X amount of salt that you're tolerant to out of the charcoal, but you can get 2X out of a phenolic bacon. In other words, you have access to twice as much bacon. In other words, is that what I'm really trying to say? So maybe mobile's going down the right point of view, but you've got to be able to extract those bloody phenolics. So if you're allowing the plant to do it itself, that's one thing. But if you're trying to actually get those phenolics out, that's probably where the double flush comes in more handy than if you're using a salty soil bacon, which is easier to flush out of salt compared to an organic phenolic sort of thing. So I hope I'm making myself clear. Do you understand that? A few light bulbs going off here. We're connecting a few dots here, fellas. Someone's going, the penny's finally dropped, Yeah. That's why CP can handle so much salt if it's potassium amending. Of course, where does the potassium amending come? Does that come from the insectivory? I mean, and we're also going to have a bit of a laugh about Adrian Slack, who we're having a bit of laugh on. He's taught us to be slack, sort of thing. What was his second book called? Was it called Insect-Eating Plants, or was it called Meat-Eating Plants? I mean, was that another, like, like he sort of like doubled back on the idea of the I think it's mole humus. Mole humus, I think it's the one that comes from the deciduous forest, the rich one that has the 1-to-1 nitrogen carbon ratio, usually roughly about, as opposed to the more humus, I think it is, which is our ones from our pine forest sort of situations where you've got very little nitrogen and a lot of carbon sort of thing. And he was talking about leaf mold, which is the mole humus, I think it is, which is the 1-to-1, so it's a high nitrogen, equal parts of basically carbon to nitrogen in a way. That's the figure they quote in the book, sort of thing. They get up to that sort of 50-50 ratio sort of thing. He was sort of suggesting you use leaf mold, and in the second book he took that suggestion away. And of course the second book's called Insect-Eating Plants, little tiny protein packets or something, whereas really it's all the little tiny protein packets or something are in the soil. It's the bloody red organism. Is that what it is? You know, the plant takes the potassium from the insects, allows it to cope with all this heavy salt, so it extracts the salt from the soil bacon, the organism can grow in it, and maybe the organism actually, you know, turns that nitrogen compound into protein in itself. Maybe the organism goes up in the plant, and that's how it's eating its meat that way. It's a meat-eating plant. It's sort of by proxy. It's a meat-eating plants by proxy. And is that the joke on the second book? You know, he definitely did sell out, and he could have called the second book Meat-Eating Plants and explained the soil bacon angle, and you know, compared to mold and more humus and all that sort of stuff, which I'm trying to explain here and get to the end of the journey. Did he really sell out? I put it to you, maybe there's a bit of skullduggery out there. I reckon there's a clandestine network out there somewhere, you know, and these commercial places just the tip of the iceberg, you know. As I say, if they say these commercial places know exactly what they do, they're doing and everything, and I say, well, if they knew exactly what they're doing, how come they're not growing fly traps with 4-inch traps? Why aren't they growing Sarracenia 120 centimetres tall? Why aren't they growing cephalotas with 6-inch pitches? Can they do that? They're just not doing it, because if they did that, you would twig that there's more to CPs than meets the eye, and they know it all, and they're not telling you? Is that what it is? I don't know, fellas. Anyway, what I wanted to do today is I wanted to measure, but I think I was going to take and see how much red organism we had in the charcoal, but I'm going to do that in another clip now. This is way too long. Okay, over and out. See you.